everybody, this is Rod Meldon, the Book of Mormon Evidence Guy, and we are here at the Davis County Convention Center at our 36th International Book of Mormon Evidence Conference. Can't believe it's been 18 years we've been doing these semi-annual conferences.
And they're going strong, strong. That's the main point.
And this is also part of the Firm Foundation Expo, so just want to let people know about that. But I have with me Jim Lucas, and he is an author, a professor, a extraordinaire individual, and so forth.
I can talk.
And he can talk. That's right. But we have the last conference that we had together. That you have a book that you wrote with Jonathan Neville about the Urim and Thummim. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But Jonathan's been kind of incognito. He sent you and me a video of him. He's actually on a mission right now in France.
That's right.
History of the church in France.
That's right.
So your cohort is kind of incognito.
Yeah, he abandoned us. So. Although he sent us a little love note.
Yeah, he didn't abandon us. He still sends his love.
That's right.
Anyway, but the last time we talked, we were talking about projects that you're like in the future working on. But we didn't really have a chance to cover some of the projects that you've already done and accomplished. And I thought maybe our audience would be interested in finding out a little bit more about that. But take it away.
Okay. Well, especially things that I've spoken about at conferences.
Yes. Yeah.
So I have kind of two different categories of things that I've done here. So Jonathan Neville and I, then over here, and I'm going to show you the book.
Yep.
So we did a book together called By Means of the Urim and Thummim, Restoring Translation to the Restoration. And it's not a super long book. It's 200 pages plus. But in this book, we address the issue of the translation of the Book of Mormon. So the idea is that we have sort of the traditional story that everybody kind of grew up with, which is that...
I grew up with that.
Which is that the Book of Mormon comes from the gold plates, which were very, laboriously engraved by Mormon and Moroni and other early prophets, preserved in the, in a special box that Moroni prepared in the Hill Cumorah. That's right. Yep. And with the Urim and Thummim, the Lord provided, with the plates, the Lord provided some special interpretation devices, which came to be known as the Urim and Thummim. And these were, probably in this video you can't see it, our cover illustration here, but these were basically two clear stones that were set in a metal rim, so they resembled old-fashioned granny glasses. Probably not too much exactly like mine, but the same basic principle, a frame and two clear stones in them. And these were amazing objects, in a sense, maybe even more amazing than the gold plates, because these were prepared for the brother of Jared. They were preserved through all the Jaredite times, and then they passed to the Nephites.
So before you go on a little bit further, though, where did the brother of Jared get it from?
They were created by the Lord at the same time that the Lord created the 16 glowing stones to go in the barges.
Yeah.
So
this is a special, almost like a gift from God.
Exactly.
For a very specific purpose, which wasn't going to be realized for centuries later.
That's right.
And so got it to the Jaredites. Go ahead with your story.
So, and it says in the Book of Mormon that this was for the purpose of translating languages. Yeah. So the Jaredites had them and passed them down, and this is at some point they passed into the possession of the Nephites. That story is probably in the lost pages of the Book of Mormon, but they came into the possession of the Nephites, and the kings had them. So the Book of Mormon tells us that King Mosiah had them, and he used them to translate the Jaredite records so that the Nephites could have them. So then they were held all throughout the Nephite times, and eventually they passed into the hands of the scribes, Mormon and Moroni, and then they put them into the stone tablets, the stone box on the hill Cumorah with the plates. Yeah. And you also had the sword of Laban and a breastplate. So there's some amazing stuff put into that tablet. And that was there. And so then when Moroni came back as an angel to tell Joseph Smith, okay, you've got a mission, you've got to produce this Book of Mormon. And eventually, I won't repeat the story, it's pretty familiar. He, had to go to the hill Cumorah, and he had to go back 4 years in a row and prepare himself. Yeah. But when he finally did receive the plates, he also received the Urim and Thummim with them. Yeah. And it says in the Joseph Smith history and the doctrine and the Pearl Great Price that this was for the purpose of translating the plates. And that was how he was going to get the Book of Mormon.
See, that's one thing that I've loved, that basically how carefully all the different hands that this passed through. So the Lord makes this instrument. He gives it to, the brother of Jared, basically, and then they get it passed down through their generations. They get it to their last people, and their last people get it to the Nephites as their civilization is now just rising to affluence and so forth. And then the Nephites get it to their prophets, who get it and make sure that it gets all the way down to the last stone box with the history in it.
That's right.
And all of this, so that when Joseph Smith got the plates, he basically could ignore the plates and the Urim and Thummim and just use a rock in a hat. Is that what I understand?
That's
so
unfortunately
they really didn't need the other two things. I'm not sure why they went through all the effort.
And that's the question.
I'm being facetious.
He's being facetious, but you are raising a very important question.
Yeah.
You are raising a very important question, because according to the accounts that we received from Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery, who was the main scribe for Joseph, the Book of Mormon came from the plates, and he used the Urim and Thummim to translate them.
Yeah.
And then he would understand what was written on the plates by using the Urim and Thummim, kind of looking at them through his little set of
Didn't
glasses.
they attach to the breastplate somehow?
There are some accounts that they would attach to the breastplates, but others that he didn't. I mean, there's one account from somebody who talked to Oliver Cowdery who said that he could detach them from the breastplate and then just scan them over.
Wow.
And then he would see the translation in the Urim and Thummim. So I would compare it very much to a modern cell phone, because if you have a translation software in your cell phone, you can pass it over a book and it will give you a translation. And
isn't that cool technology?
Yes. But the point is that, if we can do that today with the technology we have, imagine what kind of an instrument the Lord produced using celestial technology. Yeah. And that's what these amazing interpreters were, which came to have the name of Urim and Thummim.
So if this is what has been the history for over, almost 200 years, what's the controversy?
Okay, well, there's the controversy.
I know what it is. I'm just asking the question.
You're asking the right question there. So that was the story that Joseph and Oliver told, that other early people, the people who were the scribes of the Book of Mormon, besides Oliver, Samuel Smith, Jacob Whitmer, and Martin Harris, all recounted this story that Joseph used the Urim and Thummim, these spectacles, that's how they would describe them, these interpreters that came with the plates to do the translation. Okay, fine, good story.
But there's been kind of a new narrative to that. And what I'd like you to do is maybe break it down for us for a second. So the new narrative, who does it come from? Why is there a new narrative? And then does that match with what Joseph and all these other scribes and so forth? But to me, the most important one is, even going above Joseph's head, what did the Lord say? And how many times in the Doctrine and Covenants and the revelations that the Lord gave to Joseph Smith is this new theory talked about?
Okay, so
it's a mouthful.
No, but that's the good question. So what happens is that, so in the early years of the church, Urim and Thummim, gold plates, that's the story that Joseph tells, Oliver tells, Samuel Smith tells, and so forth. So then in 1834, the first big anti-Mormon book is published. It's called Mormonism Unveiled. And this is a major event in church history because this is a big book. It's more than 200 pages. And it has all kinds of garbage in it. I mean, modern anti-Mormons, when you hear them say their stuff, I listen to them and I say, you know, you're 200 years behind the times. That was back in E.B. Howe's Mormonism Unveiled book. You're just rehashing the same old stuff.
Does have some really fascinating things to say about Mormonism Unveiled.
Oh, yeah. Well, he said it was, it was not true. But it does contain important stuff. This was the first time that the Spalding theory, that the Book of Mormon was taken from a manuscript written by a man named Solomon Spalding, appears. And then there's all the Hurlbut affidavits, which are, the guy went to Palmyra and found the people who didn't like the Smiths and collected bad
affidavits from them.
Bad news from them. And it also is the first time that we see really in print the idea that Joseph, he was employed by people who were looking for treasure. And, this is, even Joseph admits this. And he had a little seer stone, a little tiny rock that he would use, which was very common in the time.
This was not odd.
No, that wasn't odd. I mean, in our book, we make the point that even today, we love these old English stories and legends of witches and warlocks and magic stones and so forth. And if you don't believe that we're still very much into that in our society, I just ask you if you've ever heard of a boy named Harry Potter. I mean, we love it. This is a part of our old English tradition. It's worldwide. It's worldwide now. So, Joseph and his family grew up in that environment. And so there was people who hired him to help them search for treasure. And so my view is, and this is something that I come to after studying this extensively, is that Joseph, we know he went to Harmony, Pennsylvania to work for a fellow who was looking for treasure. And eventually he quit that job. But while he was there, he met a very attractive young woman named Emma Hale. So he wanted to get married to her. And this is an old story. His Isaac Hale, Emma's father, did not like him very much. And so Emma and Joseph had to elope. This is just a fact of history. We don't focus on it much, but it's a
he and Emma,
history.
Mutually decided to elope.
They eloped. So after they had eloped and gotten married, Isaac kind of reconciled himself to, okay, I got this son-in-law. But he was always very, very negative toward Joseph. And he didn't like the idea that he had been employed by these guys who were treasure seekers. So Emma and Joseph, they built a little shack just down the hill from the nice house that the Hales had in Harmony, Pennsylvania. And this is where Joseph and Martin Harris started to work on the translation of what was to become the Lost Pages. And then later, when Oliver Cowdery showed up, and they lost the pages, and Oliver Cowdery showed up, this is where they started working on the translation of the Book of Mormon that we have now. So Isaac Hale, who just lived up the hill and who didn't like Joseph, he heard about this, of course, going on just next door, and he would come down and he'd tell Joseph, I want to see those plates and those magic spectacles of yours. And of course, Joseph had been commanded by the Lord not to show them to anybody who didn't have the Lord's authorization. So they would have to Isaac comes storming down the hill, burst in, you're going to bar your door to say to your father-in-law, you can't come in. And so they would have to cover up the plates and the Urim and Thummim with his hat, because farmers had these wide brim hats to protect them from the sun. Yep. So Joseph would have to throw a hat down and just for effect, maybe throw his little seer stone in there, just so they could pretend that they were doing something, but not show the actual plates and the Urim and Thummim. So anyway, this really ticked off Isaac Hale, and so eventually he just claimed, oh, you know what? If you're not going to show me the gold plates and the Urim and Thummim, I think you're just doing it with your treasure digging peepstone. Yeah. So and eventually things got so, and he told that to all of the Hale family relatives, and so eventually it just got such an unpleasant kind of situation for Joseph that the Lord revealed to him through the Urim and Thummim that he should go and go find someplace else to work. So he was revealed that there was a man named David Whitmer who happened to be a friend of Oliver Cowdery's and who would help him. Yeah. So he said to Oliver, I've gotten this revelation through the Urim and Thummim that there's somebody named David Whitmer who will come and help us. And Oliver says, oh, I know him.
Yeah. Yeah, Joseph didn't know who it was, but he gave the revelation.
And so he said, oh, I'll write him a letter and tell him about this stuff. And ask him to come down. And sure enough, David Whitmer did come down and carry them to the Whitmer home in Fayette, New York, to finish the translation. Yeah. And there's a lot of interesting stories.
There's some really cool stories about that and who they met on the way back up.
That's right. So they had an encounter with one of the three Nephites who was walking along the road carrying the gold plates back to Cumorah, he said. Yeah. He used the word Cumorah, and David Whitmer, of course, remembered that because that was the first time he had ever heard the word Cumorah.
But Joseph and Oliver had been translated.
Right, so they knew it.
Whoa, that's the Cumorah we're talking about at the very end of the book.
That's right, that we kept writing about.
They just finished up.
And that's right, in the book of Moroni and so forth. So in any event, Isaac Hale published an affidavit that claimed, oh no, Joseph used the peepstone. E.B. Howe and Philastus Hurlbut, who wrote Mormonism Unveiled, picked up on that, and they put that in Mormonism Unveiled. Yeah. And so now it sat there for a long time and nobody really paid much attention to it because everybody liked the Spalding theory. I mean, everybody who didn't believe in the Book of Mormon and Mormonism Unveiled had the Spalding theory that Joseph had been copying from some manuscript that was written by a man named Solomon Spalding. And that was the explanation. Everybody liked that one better. Yeah. So that lasted for decades and decades. People said, oh, that's the explanation. But then we get in 40 years later, you have some people who either weren't firsthand eyewitnesses or who were only
later, too.
Excuse me?
And they were way later, too.
They were way later. So we're talking about the Book of Mormon translated in 1829, published in 1830. We're now talking about the 1860s, 1880s, 1870s, 1880s. So you began to get some people who, mainly you have one letter from Emma Smith where she says, I can't remember, the Urim and Thummim was used for the lost pages, but after that, we used this seer stone, but I can't really remember, and I don't have my times and seasons anymore. Yeah. So she has that letter, but the main person who promoted this theory was David Whitmer. Yes. So David Whitmer had,
like an interview or something out here in Salt Lake.
Oh, he had, basically what happened was that David Whitmer was, started off being very loyal to the church. He was one of the three witnesses. Yep. But in 1838, he was the leader of the church in Missouri. Mm-hmm. But then when they had all those troubles in Missouri, David Whitmer kind of lost his. He separated from Joseph Smith. So
I'm not sure if you can hear this, but we are close to
Hill Air Force Base.
And near Ogden, Utah, And we just had a couple of F-35s go straight over the top of us.
That's right. Oh, you can. The guys can even see them.
This is the sound of freedom going on here, folks.
That's right. That's right.
There's about 3 or 4 of them, I think.
Whoa, they're really having a party up there, aren't they?
They really are. Anyway,
Maybe they're flying around saying, "Oh, we wish we could go to the Firm Foundation conference."
they must have heard that you were in town, Jim.
That's it, or
Decided to come give you a welcome.
this whole event is going on, or whatever.
Oh, there's one right there. Oh,
Whoa, they're really flying low. They're trying to hear what we're talking about, right?
wow. Yeah, that guy was close. I think the guy waved at me for a second there. Anyway, the pilot. All right, sorry about that, folks.
No. So in any event, David Whitmer left the church, and he got very bitter.
Yeah.
And so he came to the conclusion that Joseph was a fallen prophet. Now, what he couldn't completely deny everything, because he was one of the 3 witnesses. The angel had come to him and said, the Book of Mormon is true. You just got. So David, to his credit, always remained true to his testimony of the Book of Mormon, but then he had to say everything else Joseph Smith did, he was a fallen prophet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what David did was he would conclude that, well, all right, I can't deny my testimony of the Book of Mormon, but, I'm going to tell people that, or let's put it this way, after that, he got in, he used the seer stone to translate the Book of Mormon, and he would, and he was otherwise a fallen prophet. And David Whitmer, he had a long list of stuff that he complained about.
Even in Emma's account, I understand that about 2 or 3 sentences after she talks about them using the seer stone in the hat, she basically began to kind of go after, say, well, and my son Joseph Smith III is really the rightful person and so forth. And she was kind of, because Joseph III really kind of resisted being a leader or whatever, as far as what was the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Well, what happened?
And then when he finally decided he would do it, then she kind of was a little bit trying to promote his. He's the rightful guy.
She supported Joseph Smith III as being the heir.
Yeah.
After it took Joseph Smith III, so he was 11 years old in 1844 when his father was killed. So he didn't know firsthand how the Book of Mormon was translated or anything. He wasn't even born when the Book of Mormon was translated. And after Brigham Young and the Saints left for Utah, there were some members of the church who stayed behind. Yeah. And eventually they managed to persuade Joseph Smith III to take over and reorganize the church. And that was, he took over, they started on him in the late 1850s. And finally in 1860 he agreed, and then Emma kind of went in on that.
What mom wouldn't probably want to support her son and so forth.
That's right. Yeah. But so anyway, it's really David Whitmer, and he never agreed to support Joseph Smith III. He wanted to be the head of the church himself.
He thought, in fact, he did.
So he formed a little family church, and they existed into the 1950s. And eventually died off, but. Anyway, but David Whitmer, so he came up, he started promoting this stone in the hat theory. And the thing is that David Whitmer he stayed in Missouri. He didn't go to Utah or anything. Yeah. So it was easy for newspapers to get to David Whitmer. Yeah. And so he would do, and now this is like in the 1870s, 1880s. This is 50 years after these events. And remember, David Whitmer was not a scribe of the Book of Mormon, but he got this notion that it must have been the seer stone, and that's what he'd tell people in all his interviews. Yep. So suddenly what you have is a situation where you have Joseph and Oliver and Samuel and Martin and Jacob and all the other early church members saying, oh, it was the gold plates and it was the Urim and Thummim that was used, but you have against that like dozens of interviews from David Whitmer where he says, no, it was the seer stone, it was the seer stone. And so you just have so many accounts from David Whitmer that it just kind of overwhelmed everybody else. Wow. If you're just like counting, how many accounts are there? You get like a whole bunch on the seer stone side, but 90% of them are from David Whitmer. So that's the weird situation you have.
Yeah.
So that story got preserved, but nobody really believed it. In fact, you brought up Joseph Smith III. So people asked Joseph Smith III, as his capacity as president of the reorganized church, so what do you make of David Whitmer saying that it was done with the seer stone? So Joseph Smith III, this was in the 1880s, went back and said, well, I was just a kid. I wasn't even born when the translation was done, so I guess I got to go back and do my research. So he went and he dug out, his mother had said, I can't really remember because I don't have my own copies of the Times and Seasons. That was the church's newspaper in Nauvoo. So Joseph Smith III went back and he dug out the Times and Seasons and the Messenger and Advocate and the Evening Morning Star, all the newspapers that the church had published. And you've got to remember, these weren't digitized. They weren't even
He had to go through every
He
single
had to go
line.
through, and this is 40, 50-year-old newsprint.
Yes.
He had to page through it all to find, places where it talked about the translation of the Book of Mormon. Well, lo and behold, what he finds is his father and Oliver Cowdery and all these other people saying, well, no, it came from the gold plates and it was using the Urim and Thummim.
Yes.
So even though his own mother kind of had said a couple of times that it might be the seer stone, Joseph Smith III published in his newspaper, oh, guess it's not. It was the Urim and Thummim and the gold plates. Who knows better than my father and Joseph Smith? I mean, my father and Oliver Cowdery.
Well, I can only think of one person that knows better than them. And that's the Lord himself.
The Lord himself.
Which I think it's something like 10 or 11 times in the Doctrine and Covenants, the Lord tells in the Revelations to the prophet Joseph Smith and specifically mentions the Urim and Thummim as the instrument that was being used, the one that was 1,000+ years before.
Oh yeah.
Made by God, Jaredites, Nephites, all the way to Joseph Smith, and he used them amazingly.
That's right. He used them not only to translate the Book of Mormon, but to see many revelations would come through the Urim and Thummim.
Yes.
And other kinds of things, like that's how he got the message that he should go ask David Whitmer to come and bail them out of their tense situation they had.
That was fascinating because he said that they got up in the morning and he got out the Urim and Thummim. He looked into the Urim and Thummim instead of the translation coming up. Instead, you're to write a letter to this guy by the name of David Whitmer, who he'd never heard of before.
Right.
And so then he says, Oliver,
you know somebody?
Have you ever heard of a David Whitmer? He says, yeah, that's some friends of ours.
Uh-huh.
Well, write him a letter and tell him to come down here and
pick us up because we got to
get out of here.
We got to find a better place, a more friendly place to finish this translation. Which the Whitmer home was.
So that's basically what the book is about.
Right.
And does it have all the documentation behind all of this stuff?
Yeah. So just to finish the story real quick. So that's where the story existed. But for many, many years, the people who didn't believe in the Book of Mormon, they still liked the Spalding theory. Yeah. But finally, they found a manuscript that was written by Solomon Spalding. It didn't have anything to do with the Book of Mormon. Yeah. So eventually that fell away. So they had to come up with another theory for how the Book of Mormon was produced. And so they dug out these old seer stone accounts. And this was in the 1980s and 1990s. When, if you recall, Mark Hoffman had started to produce his forgeries. And so suddenly the whole folk magic thing became the fad in LDS history. Yeah. So this saying that it was, translation was done through the seer stone, that suddenly fit right into the big new fad that everybody was following. Yep. So that started coming about. And unfortunately, a lot of LDS historians have bought into it. So that's the purpose of this book, is to...
Now, do you talk about the Swearing Elders group in here at all, or not?
We don't mention them specifically.
Okay. Not many people know about the Swearing Elders group and how they actually had kind of a plan to, quote unquote, take Joseph Smith down off his pedestal, because they felt like, because of this magic life view or whatever, that when people found out that Joseph Smith was into all this occultic stuff, which he wasn't, But
He was.
but
But he did have a little
he
seer
had the
stone.
seer stone,
And
right?
people hired him. He
Right.
did work as an
Right,
employee
right.
in a treasure digging
Yes, and that kind of
operation,
thing. But
which he admits himself.
yeah, but this is but what was the point I was going to make? I was going to say just that when he was accused of that and being a magic, a guy into dark arts and dark magic and so
Right.
forth, that this narrative basically was being pressed because they said we want to take Joseph Smith down off his pedestal because when people find out that Joseph Smith was into that stuff, they're probably going to freak, and we don't want to have them being completely thinking that Joseph Smith was just a regular guy.
Wow. Well,
So does that make sense?
what happens is that the people who don't believe in the Book of Mormon,
Yeah.
of course, they don't even think that the Urim and Thummim or the gold plates even existed.
Yeah.
So, and the people who are, believe in the church, believe in the Book of Mormon, but who want to kind of modernize the perception, who, want the full record to be disclosed.
Yeah.
And the seer stone is in the historical record.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bring it out that there had been these accounts about seer stones just to be fair and balanced.
Yeah.
That's sort of the objective. But that has an advantage for people of a more less I don't know what kind of a perspective, that they want to be able to be in more closer communication with non-LDS scholars and academics. They want to be able to go to a conference and present the Book of Mormon in a way that doesn't look like just totally, gold plates,
Total bias.
Angels,
Total bias,
magic spectacles. I mean, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
So they, what the seer stone does is it means that you can get rid of the gold plates and the Urim and Thummim. I mean, you're not
The story.
you
The
can
miraculous part of it.
the miraculous part you can do away, because you can say, well, Joseph didn't really use the gold plates. He didn't really use the Urim and these magic spectacles, the Urim and Thummim. He just had a stone and a hat, and if you're a faithful member of the church, you say, oh, he just got it by revelation, by inspiration, which is kind of how the Quran was created. It just went directly, supposedly, into the mind of Muhammad, who then dictated it to scribes and other holy records. So it puts you in a position, if you're a kind of an academic that wants to not be embarrassed at by
being
angels
totally biased about stuff.
that angels, gold plates, magic spectacles, that story. You can say, well, it was just, inspiration, and you're not that far away from how people regard the Quran and Muhammad or other holy records that just came by some kind of direct magical inspiration. And you can stand up and nobody will laugh at you. Whereas if you stood up and said, boy, it was magic spectacles and the gold plates that had been preserved for hundreds and hundreds of years, everybody's just going to snicker at you.
So it kind of appeases the academic community better to change the narrative and say, well, this is how it was done.
So
that went fast.
Oh yeah. So just to give it put the advertisement in.
Yes.
So basically, I have done a number of presentations here at the Firm Foundation, where basically we've gone through these different points. We've explained the importance of the Urim and Thummim. We've explained how we think the translation actually happened.
Yeah.
I think I hope we've kind of provided a good record of what we argue in our book, which preserves, and which basically, the bottom line I like to say is, Joseph and Oliver told the truth.
Yes,
about
absolutely.
The Book of Mormon translation.
Now listen, if you want to be able to hear these presentations that Jim Lucas has done, you can go to our streaming website. It's Book of Mormon Evidence streaming, and then also all of those are there. The nice thing about having it on the streaming website, no commercials. There is a small fee per month or whatever to do that, but you can access all of yours and also 1,700 other presentations that we have from over 450 experts in the church, and even some non-members of the church who have awesome information about archaeology or genetics or whatever. that they're on this site. But we encourage you to go to that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, at the Book of Mormon Evidence YouTube channel, and look up the book. And you can get this book actually from our website, our bookstore. It has the books there. And is there anywhere else where you recommend they
and
go?
we it's also been recorded as an audiobook, which is available through Audible.
Awesome, fantastic. Listen, Jim, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your efforts and everything what you're doing to make sure that the history doesn't get corrupted.
Well,
so important.
I really appreciate the fact that you have all of these conferences, this huge effort that you've made, 36 now?
Yeah, 36.
To provide a forum where really faithful people can present really faithful studies of the gospel, restored gospel.
Thank you.
And the restoration.
That's kind of our tagline is faithfully exploring relevant subjects of our time, or topics of our time.
That's right.
So you were one of those.
Okay, just one more thing.
Yes.
And on the Digital Legend website, you can get your official Urim and Thummim hat. This is Urim and Thummim. And on the back, we've got no seer stone. Just have to point that out.
I love it. Did you design that?
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great time and keep the faith.
Thanks.